Hi Charlie, welcome to this Vegan Plant-Based Summit. How are you today?
I'm feeling amazing, radiant, excited, which isn't always the case, but as of yesterday and then moving to today, I feel great.
So tell me a bit about your story. Where did it all start?
Many years ago on Easter, wow, it's actually Easter, like tomorrow, I think. That's funny. I was in Washington, D.C., visiting a friend. This is before I was vegan, of course, but I had my desserts and my brownies and everyone knew that I was a chef. I was visiting a friend and she was like, hey, I have this friend who's also a chef. Like, I really want you to meet her. She's doing a little Easter dinner, like if you want to come. So I was like, yeah, sure. So I went and this person that I met was a celebrity raw vegan chef. And the dinner was very quaint. It was kind of intimate, only 8 people, but she made a feast, like Thanksgiving status, table full of food, a lot of things I had never eaten before, but all raw vegan. And I just remember that night feeling, after I ate, feeling almost high, like buzzing, light energy, ready to run a marathon, which is kind of the opposite of how I was used to feeling if I had eaten that much food. So that night, it kind of clicked within me that food is actually fuel. It's like I felt as if I had been putting the wrong gas in my car my whole life. And from that moment, that kind of drew me towards plants and looking at food as fuel. So I started, in terms of my health, seeking plant food and in my own on my own power without knowing any vegan people or anything like that. I was like 90% plant-based, just for health reasons. I didn't know anything about animal agriculture or how food affects the environment or anything like that. So for a couple of years, I was 90% plant-based. Then I came across this guy who had been vegan for 11 years, and he kind of took me under his wing, and he put me through his program called My Vegan Journey, which was a challenge, a 90-day commitment to being vegan. And he helped out with like meal plan, fitness plan, weekly calls. And during that 90 days, we learned about the dairy industry. During week 3, he showed us Earthlings, the documentary, with Joaquin Phoenix. And I was eating a bunch of bomb vegan food at the time. So it all just kind of came together as a package. Like, all right, this makes me feel great. This is better for the animals and it's sustainable, and it just clicked. And I've been vegan now for almost 9 years.
So you're also a serial entrepreneur. You set up Charlie's Brownies. Tell me a bit more about your entrepreneurial journey.
So I've been an entrepreneur since I was a kid. I've always been that kid. I started off with the lemonade stand when I was like 10 or 11 years old. Then I got really big into trading cards and things like that. In high school, I was the kid who sold candy and Gatorade and these things. And then one day, my mom and I baked some brownies and I decided to bring those to school to sell. And those became the biggest hit. So I stopped selling Gatorade and candy, and I just strictly, my last year of high school, this is when I was 17 years old, I just sold brownies for $1. And I developed a nickname because my name is Charlie. And it was like, oh, Charlie Brownies, like Charlie Brown, like. It kind of just flew that way, and that became my thing. Then in college, I wanted to learn how to make brownies from scratch because I was just making them from a box mix and selling them for $1. But I wanted to get creative and get original, so I joined the baking club and the cooking club, and I really worked on my skills for like a year. And then I ended up through that club, through one of our bake sales, someone discovered me and tried my s'mores brownies, and I ended up getting a contract with the coffee shop on my college campus. That's when I was like 19 or 20. I had people ordering from me regularly to sell. So that's where Charlie's Brownies went from like a hustle, kind of like a passion, fun thing, to like, oh shit, this is paying my bills. This is like serious. So, not really knowing what I wanted my career to be after college, I just kept going with the pastries. I ended up getting an angel investor. I started doing catering in Hollywood when I came back to LA. I launched my website, and things picked up from there. So that was my first business. And then also on the side, kind of like another thing I've always been into is entertainment and throwing events. I'm good with people and fun and rallying, people together and creating experiences. So I also had a small like entertainment company thing going on while I was selling my brownies, and I still do both of those things today. So, but that's kind of like way back how it began.
Today, you have a food recipe app, don't you, online? And I've looked through it. It's got some amazing recipes on it. But let's just tell the viewers at home what they can expect from that.
So the name of my app is called Vegan Recipe Book. And that kind of stuff from us not trying to come up with something too artsy and creative. We're like, why don't we just make it simple? That way, if anybody goes into the app store and searches vegan recipes or vegan recipe book, then it'll just come up easy, easy to locate, really straightforward. But the app is much deeper than just vegan. There's a lot more into it. So my style of cooking is what I call inclusive. And that's not just alluding to inclusive, meaning like what people can afford, but literally safety, food safety, and what people can actually eat. So with food safety, you're talking about allergies, you're talking about food sensitivity, and these type of things. And yeah, it's like safe food. So everything I make is gluten-free, nut-free, soy-free, obviously dairy-free and vegan, egg-free. But then also like no refined sugar, a lot of oil-free stuff, no garlic or onion, because a lot of people can't even eat that. The Buddhists, don't even eat that. The Jains don't even eat that. So I kind of make food that I look at it like this way. If you made something from my app and you brought it into a party with 50 people, literally everyone there can participate and eat. Because I also find there's this underlying hurdle for people to go vegan that have allergies. So I meet all these people, like I can't eat cashews, and every restaurant I go, it's cashew cheese. Or, I can't eat soy. So what am I going to do? How am I going to get my protein? So I'm trying to help solve all these issues for people who have hurdles and make it really easy to eat vegan and kind of just standardizing that. Because I find the polarity, which is, junk food and gluten and stuff that's made with nuts, is really easy to find. Like if you don't have allergies, it's so easy. You can go to any restaurant, any blog, and find out ways to live. But for the people who want to be vegan and struggle with IBS, Crohn's disease, diabetes, they got eczema, inflammatory, autoimmune protocol, all these things, I make food that's safe for them. So that's really the deeper part of my app. That's its own activism. And I publish new recipes every week. So it just started. We launched like 6 months ago, but it's a really nice format we have. When you go on, you're going to obviously learn the ingredients, the instructions, and then we have an additional portion that you don't see on a lot of recipe platforms, which is the education. So I always publish, how to substitute each ingredient, why the ingredient is in there, what it's doing, and how to learn what you're doing. So instead of just following what I do, you get to learn about it, and then you can become your own creator. When you step in the kitchen, you're like, oh, I know miso is also a thickener, so why don't I throw a little bit in there, and then you become the wizard yourself, So yeah, it's a fun process. It's very educational, and that project stemmed out of actually COVID-19, because I couldn't do events, I couldn't sell my brownies, I was locked in an apartment for 6 months, so I just started cooking, and I was posting everything on Instagram, and it kind of caught fire. People were like, "Yo, you need to come out with the ebook. You need to share this. I want to learn." And then, just so happens a vegan app developer was following my journey. And when I moved out to Vegas, he lives here, and we met and kind of formed a partnership, and just kind of organically grew from that.
And you just touched on education, and education's an important thing, because when you start on a new journey, you really don't know where to start and what to do. And a lot of people give up before they've started the plant-based vegan journey. Where did your animal rights activism come into this? Because you said you started initially because of the dinner you went to and how amazing you felt afterwards. But where did the animals come into it? At what point?
So I would say after watching Earthlings, right away, I made a decision that I never wanted any of my money to ever go to support those cruel industries. And then because of that, also my business, Charlie's Brownies, was not vegan at that time. So I made a decision like, all right, how can I not be supporting these industries, but then I have a business where I'm using eggs and butter and dairy and supporting those industries. So the first thing I did was I shut my business down temporarily, and I redid all my recipes, and then I kind of relaunched the brand as a vegan brand. And the first event that I ever vended at was a veg fest, a vegan festival in LA. And I would say all the vegans, the real vegans and animal rights activists, and those people I've met through going to veg fests and interacting in that way. And then later, this guy that I met at a veg fest, his name is Donnie, and his brand, his Instagram is vegan as F. You know the word. We became friends, and he kind of reeled me in to go deeper into my animal activism. So for a while, I was going to the vigils and the cubes and all those activist events like twice a week and getting really involved with that community. So that's kind of how I dive deeper, is through him. And now I'm glad I did, because I know all those people and I understand on a deeper level and an upfront level, seeing the animals and what they go through and what they deal with, and seeing them as someone and not just something or a commodity. I have a relationship with them in a different way. And I always speak up on behalf of the animals. I haven't announced this publicly yet, but I actually just moved into an animal sanctuary 2 days ago, and I'm going to be managing the kitchen there and supporting a lot of people's plant-based journey over there. So that's a new update in my life.
That's amazing. That's something that I'd love to do. A lot of vegan activists, animal rights activists, will say there's not much difference between speciesism and racism.
You know, we abuse animals, we mistreat them, we exploit them on a massive scale, and it's really wrong. And most people, they invest in this type of exploitation with blind eyes, meaning they're just getting the end product. They get the meat on the shelf, but they don't deal with the process and how it all happened. They don't want to know who did the dirty work. They don't want to know how that person was affected. They don't want to know how these industries, are treating our planet. But in terms of my activism and what I think is the best form of activism, I don't think alluding to people's trauma and family trauma and history is the best way to get them to see the connection. You know, it is all just based on looks. Like we love on cats and dogs because they're cuddly, furry, they're cute, and they're convenient and obedient. But a pig is cute too. A chicken is adorable. I love chickens. So like, what is the point at which we decide who gets our respect legally, and who gets our respect from our heart, and who we're defending? Because people will tell you quickly, like, oh my God, you're crazy if you hit a dog, but it's all good if you give me some bacon for breakfast. So what I've found astounding is that most people, when you address hypocrisy, they're okay with being a hypocrite. They're okay because most people still accept it as okay. As long as the majority of people say it's okay, then they're just going to go along with it and stick to tradition. But I think to evolve, it's not always about tradition. It's about authenticity. It's about what is the best way of being. So change is inevitable. Like 40 years ago, Black people and white people couldn't even drink from the same water fountain. And if we just stuck here and said, oh, but that's how we've always done it, then we would be a really backwards and shitty society. So excuse my language.
So education is important, and treating people with kindness and fairness is also important, because like you say, if you push people too far, they'll go in the opposite direction. And that's same with the environment. And we're having issues with the environment at the moment, which we can possibly turn around if we act quick enough, or if we let it continue and carry on the way we're going. Who knows where we're going to be in 10 years' time? And animal agriculture is one of the main contributors. Where do you stand on environmentalism and activism for the environment?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a big part of my message. usually people, when you talk about veganism, they're either going to be interested for a health benefit, or a lot of people do care about the environment, so they'll listen to that regard. And then there are people who are animal lovers. So I push all of it. But the environment to me is the most undebatable of all three. You know, like what's healthy, people can argue about that all day. Like whether or not we should morally respect animals, people will argue about that all day. But when you deal with the environment, you're dealing with facts. Like these are the emissions caused by 1 pound of meat. You know, this is how much land is required to support this size industry. There is no argument. So if you give a damn at all about the forest, about the ocean, about global warming, about pollution, about our environment, about our air, about our water, anything to that regard, then you would go towards plant-based, towards veganism, because in terms of efficiency, plants is the way to go. You know, they require the least amount of resources in land, and they're regenerative, as opposed to, all the things you have to deal with when you're raising animals for food. You need to clear all this land out. So then what happens? You're chopping down the rainforest, then you got to grow all this food to feed all these animals. Like we're able to feed billions and billions of cows and pigs and chickens, but we can't even feed all the humans on the earth. So we're steering our food away from feeding humans just to feed animals to get a moment of pleasure. So I think it's completely inefficient. And when you talk about, even on the reverse end, vegans that aren't as focused on sustainability, I think that they should be, because when you destroy a habitat, then the animals die. So plastic is just one part of it. Obviously, it all ends up in the ocean. You see all these videos of turtles with stuff in their nose, and all the whales with all the microplastics in their stomach getting beached. It's just really tragic how plastic has affected the world. Yeah, like something like a palm oil as well. It's technically a vegan food, and you see it a lot in shortening and like butter type of products. But in order to harvest a lot of that palm oil, they have to grow the palms, and where they're doing that is the home of a lot of orangutans. And now we're seeing orangutans, like 4 different species of orangutans are on the endangered list. So we just got to be careful. Not everything that's vegan is sustainable. So these are things to pay attention to, even in our vegan journey. We can go deeper than just saving the animals. One thing that I've started to do and also incorporate into my recipes is sustainable ingredients. So when we look at some of our snacks and our protein and sources of iron and nutrients, I like to look at one obvious one that I like to bring up is like nuts versus seeds. Nuts require a lot more resources and water to grow than seeds do. So in terms of sustainability, we can get the same nutrition from seeds, like pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds. All these types of foods are going to use less water. So it's more sustainable. So if we want to go deeper in our vegan journey and use less resources, sustain more habitats and save more animals, we can look at the vegan food we're eating and actually make decisions that are more sustainable.
One of the issues that we have is we really don't know what's sustainably sourced and what isn't unless we delve deep into the information. And Greenpeace have just released their second campaign in as many months to protect the Amazon rainforest. And you mentioned the orangutans and 4 endangered species. This is a big, big problem, isn't it? But it's not just a problem for the Amazon. It's global.
Absolutely. And that's something that was touched upon also in Seaspiracy. I don't know if you've watched that recent documentary that came out on Netflix. It's all about the ocean and, the sustainability down there, because you see a lot of these fish or seafood products like tuna will have this stamp on the can, like, oh, sustainable, all these, whatever. But when there's a boat out there in the middle of the ocean, no one's tracking all their bycatch and all these other animals they catch in their nets that they just throw back into the ocean. But they'll come back and tell you a beautiful story of how, oh, we just did this nice catch and we didn't kill any other animals, but none of it's true. No one's really monitoring this. And I think the most unsustainable probably is the fishing because, with a lot of the fishing practices, whole ecosystems are destroyed. With one big net, you're going to catch all different types of animals, including like predators. Like we kill a ridiculous amount of sharks every year just in the fishing industry. But what we don't realize is we need those sharks in the ocean because even just their poop alone floats down and is fertilizer for the plants. And then we need that algae because it soaks in the carbon. It's like it's all connected, like everything's connected. And there's processes happening that we don't even know about, that we're not tapped into yet. But our level of destruction because of industrialization is so big that, before we can see the problem, we've already ruined a good thing.
A lot of people are so disconnected with what's really happening out there. It's good that documentaries such as Seaspiracy and Cowspiracy exist. For me, I have family members that aren't vegan and it drives me insane, but there's only a limited amount of information you can give them and a limited amount of poking and prodding. Do you have the same issue? And if so, how do you deal with it?
Yeah. With each individual that you talk to, you can kind of get a gauge of how open they are to not only receiving the info, but implementing things into their life. And there's so many levels, to people's participation. And I think that there is this layer of people who will participate and eat more vegan food as long as it's convenient. So like, I don't know, 5 years ago, I lived with my mom temporarily and I was cooking every day. So guess what? She was vegan for a year because I was there cooking. But, she doesn't have that same connection within herself to the point where if she was out with friends or now that I don't live with her, she might eat a little bit of salmon or, she still, eats mostly plants, but she doesn't have this kind of like strict view. And I've realized not everyone can make the connection to a bigger picture. And I think what's important is looking at your actions on a scale. So it's like, all right, if I'm doing this, that means 2 billion people are probably also doing this. So what is the effect of that? Not just my little one piece of meat is not going to do anything. Well, yeah, it is, because if you do it at all, then other people are doing it, and that's a big effect. Cycling back to your question about family, it's very frustrating, but instead of getting upset or getting mad at them, or what I did my year one was I cut off all my friends and didn't hang out with them anymore because they weren't listening to my message. You don't necessarily need to do that, but you can just keep introducing them to amazing food in ways where it's undeniable. A lot of people just don't even know how good vegan food is. And that's, I think, the basis, because if you can think of 10 things that you love, then it's easy to just always be reaching for that, because it's going to make you feel good too. Not just your body, but your mental. A lot of people like the idea of contributing, like being flexitarian, like, oh, they'll go out of their way every once in a while and go get the veggie burger because they feel like, that meal, I did my part today, And if you keep flooding them with these great, one day you're making cauliflower wings. Then you make a mushroom steak. Boom, veggie burger. Like, there's no excuse. You're going to just naturally see them start to be more vegan and eat more vegan if you're putting it in front of them. So I think, a lot of times the people that are stubborn or kind of deflect, your message, the one thing they are going to do is they're going to eat. They're going to want to eat good. So instead of arguing, just delivering them bomb food and maybe slipping in a message here and there and helping it be more convenient. Because there are those people who aren't going to go vegan, but like I said, they'll participate as long as it's convenient. So you show them a good lentil soup recipe that they love, and then boom, next thing you know, they're making that every week. So they don't even realize it, but the money they're spending less money on animals, eating animals. So that's the way to be active with those people, is to just kind of be action based and not necessarily so word based, you know?
Why is it important to be fully vegan rather than flexitarian or plant-based?
Oh, that's a great question. I think, like I said before, thinking about our actions on a scale is important. And even though, for people that aren't vegan, that kind of understand some of the implications and the problems we're dealing with, if you just do your feel good meal every once in a while, the mentality with that is reduction. So we want to reduce our harm. We want to help fight the problem a little bit and do our part. But if you look at the problems we're facing right now, things are happening very fast. These are pressing things. So when you are vegan, what starts to happen is, like, when I'm looking around, I'm seeing a big fire burning, and I'm like, holy crap, emergency, 911. We gotta put this out. But on the outside, it's kind of like they're blind, and there's like a small fire that they're trying to put out. So it's a big difference in perspective. I feel like reduction is not going to change anything. What it's going to do is it's going to make the curve for the problems maybe a little bit like this. But a vegan is like, no, we need to reverse these problems. We need to shut down that whole industry because they're making things like this. We need to reverse. We need to go back. We need to regrow the forest. We need to build up the population of the ocean. We need the coral to survive this extinction. So being vegan is really saying, like, look, I want to be a part of a better future for the earth. I hear people give stats on, oh, we only need to do this much to save the earth. So that's how much I'm going to do. But you don't know if everyone else is doing that much. So you kind of need to be on the deep end, because most people are not. The majority of humans right now are a part, whether they're conscious of it or not, but they're a part of the destruction that we're facing. And they're investing in all these big corporations and industries that are destroying the planet. So I think once you learn about the issues, if you really want to make a change, you got to go all in.
So, Charlie, do you have any insights into the future of food?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, plant-based / vegan food is a hot topic right now. You're seeing vegan restaurants pop up everywhere. People are trying it out. A lot more people are going vegan. So, attaching our food choices to compassion is going to be big. So you're going to see hopefully more of that. And then on the other end that I talked about that hasn't been talked about much is sustainable foods, like actually looking at what foods are going to save the planet, like which ones we can sustain long term, which ones use the least amount of land and water. I think that's going to eventually become a topic. And then on a more local scale, I think paying attention to seasonal foods, what's in season, how do we make use of that? Understanding, how we can make dishes with what's available locally. And because there's also a sustainable element to that. When we're shipping in foods from all over the place, then there's more gas used, there's more resources used, more packaging, just to get the flavor that we want at a certain time of year. But if we at least shift our focus a little bit towards what's in season, then we can be more sustainable that way. I also think growing our own food is gonna be a big thing. Obviously, in school, we're not taught about gardening or things like that. I still am not even that great myself, but it's one of my goals.
Just to finish off, why is it, animal activism is a big part of who you are. Why is it important to include environmentalism and human health into your activism?
Another great question. What I've noticed is within the people that are serious about saving animals and promoting this moral respect for animals and ending animal agriculture, they don't really often include health into their activism because they want to be about the animals. They really, truly love animals. and they want to shift people's perspective towards having concern and respect for life. But what ends up happening is, what I see a lot is that they're so vegan for the animals that health is not important. And when you get too deep down that path, then you actually become unhealthy. Like I know some of my activist friends I know people that have gotten diabetes and ended up in the hospital. And, that I don't think that's the best message either. Just because our activism is not focused on health doesn't mean that it has to be anti-health. I've seen also event organizers that throw vegan events. They're so for the animals that at the event that they throw, there's no healthy food. You'll go to a vegan event and it'll just be fried chicken, dumplings, cheeseburger, nachos, and somebody who wants to be vegan and healthy, they have nothing to eat there. So they're not even included in the event or, in what they like. So I think that they need to come together because there's a lot of people who are very healthy, but they're seeing all these vegans that are unhealthy and it's almost unattractive. I think it's important as vegans for us to at least understand health. You don't need to be healthy all the time. You don't need to be optimal health. You don't need to be raw vegan 100% of the time, but at least be able to speak on it. And let's say you do meet someone who wants to be vegan, but also wants to be healthy. You should be able to help them. Why not know how to make a raw wrap? Why not know how to make a nice soup? Why not be able to at least speak on it and eat some fruit? So I don't think we should be anti-health. I think we should use it as a tool and a weapon, bring people in. A lot of people start off their interest in plant-based is for their own health. So you see it all the time. Even myself, I started off on a health journey. And then when I learned all of the information and watched the documentaries, then compassion and moral respect for animals was now included. So it doesn't really matter where someone's starting, but use health as a weapon. And then I see all the time as well. I see people that are sustainability advocates and eco and save the earth, but they're not even vegan. So it's like that doesn't add up at all. Because when you look at the efficiencies, there could be someone vegan who doesn't even talk about the planet is being more sustainable than someone who's promoting it and still eating animals. So I think our messages need to be fluid and we need to have integrity and really deal with, what is best and practice what we preach. So I think vegans should look at health and sustainability as just another tool to be active. And at the same time, like I said earlier, being sustainable actually, in my mind, if you look at the data, it's going to save more animals at the end of the day. So I think if you're really about the animals, then you should look at sustainability as something for the animals. Because you save habitats, then you save animals.
So if you were to give people one bit of advice, one takeaway from this, what would it be?
Woo! One takeaway. Maybe I can give a package of information. I would say go to Happy Cow, look up some of the best rated vegan restaurants wherever you live, give a visit, go try out some food, see what you like. You're going to feel good. You're going to enjoy it. It's going to be a lot tastier than you would have thought. Because I feel my relationship with food has never been as good as since I've been vegan. I never knew food could be so delicious. When I think about what I used to eat, it's like, oh, scrambled eggs, oh, romaine lettuce and tomato with a vinaigrette. That's not as interesting as all the cool stuff I've been eating lately. So try out vegan restaurants, visit an animal sanctuary, just so you can actually, a lot of people haven't even met a cow. They've never hung out with a turkey. They don't even know how cool and fun and beautiful these animals are that they're eating. I've brought a pig to one of my pool parties, and one of my friends, he messaged me 2 days later and said, "Bro, I was just at breakfast with my family and I couldn't even order the bacon because I just kept thinking about rotini. I just kept thinking about the pig I was playing with by the pool." So, try out vegan food if you haven't tried it. Don't talk bad about it before you try it. Go meet some animals, these two things alone, and then watch all the documentaries that are suggested. Cowspiracy, What the Health, Game Changers, Forks Over Knives, Earthlings. Like, get informed on our food supply instead of ignoring it and being like, oh, I can't watch that, or oh, like I don't want to know. You should know. Everyone should know. This should be basic education so that we see how our planet is functioning, you know, how we're surviving, what's the future of things, how can we be better human beings, how can we tackle all these problems, you know, like we're dealing with world hunger, we're dealing with slavery, we're dealing with drought, we're dealing with murder and violence, and all of it stems from one thing: what we put on our plate, what we are eating. So, you know, this is an important topic, and I think people should at least take those simple steps, you know, because it's not hard.
Can the viewers at home get one of your recipes, especially for this summit? Something to inspire them to go vegan, plant-based, rather than vegan Oreo and chips route?
Yeah. So like I said before, my app is called Vegan Recipe Book. If you go to the website, veganrecipebook.app, it's a breakdown. It's our homepage, and you can, you know, click whether you have a Google phone or Apple phone or Amazon, anything you have, you can access my app. It's $4.99 US. I don't know what that translates into pounds or the currency, but not very expensive for my whole catalog. Like I said, it's like a mini culinary school with all the educational aspects. There's also a vegan glossary in the app that breaks down a lot of terminology that you might not have known. Yeah, right now there's 73 of my recipes in there. We're moving quickly towards hitting 100. And yeah, I'm going to keep doing this. So it's cool because there's no ads. So if you try to go on Google and look up a recipe, you're going to have to sift through 5 different blogs. You don't know which one's good. And then you got all these pop-ups and ads, and you got to read the whole life story of the blogger going to the Himalayas to pick the special salt. On my app, we've kind of cut all of that out by charging a small fee up front. You can just get a really nice, organized, formatted kind of recipe book and learn all my recipes that way. So go to veganrecipebook.app to access all my recipes.
And where can we find Charlie's Brownies?
Charlie's Brownies is on Instagram at Charlie's Brownies. Very exciting. I'm getting that revamped right now here in Nevada. I recently moved to Las Vegas. Just got my business permits and my tax permits out here. So I'm going to be doing pop-ups. I'm going to be doing private events. I'm going to be placing my special desserts in different vegan restaurants locally here. And I'm also going to be opening my website at some point soon so people can buy them, and I will ship them to your house. So be on the lookout for Charlie's Brownies and supporting that.
That's amazing. And we wish you all the best with your new entrepreneurial spirit and your ongoing businesses.
Thank you so much. You're awesome. And I appreciate you and everything you're doing. And I think everybody should watch this segment. So share with your friends. Don't be shy, and let's blow this up.